a shelter, thirsty hills and barren lands. We are trusting in the Lord, and according to His word, we will understand it better by and by. By and by, when the morning comes, when the saints of God are gathered home, we'll tell the story of how we'll overcome, for we'll understand it better by and by.
Welcome to Portage United Church of Christ. On behalf of Reverend Mary Kay, myself, and the whole community, we're glad that you have chosen to join us for our August 27th service. We're continuing our theme of Sabbath as resistance. Today we're going to be talking about resisting multitasking. It is a kind of feature of ourselves that is well applauded often enough in the workplace, but when it comes to times of prayer and shaping our spirituality, it is best to be resisted. So we're going to be talking about how to be mindful and focused on expanding our understanding of Sabbath, of our own spirituality, and of the building of our community in that way. We are also going to be sending Pastor Mary Kay off with a blessing. She begins her sabbatical this next week, and we hope that you send your blessings to her and to us as we move into this new season. And now, my friends, as we begin to go into the service, let's take a deep breath together, knowing that we co-create this sacred time. We co-create this sacred space, one with another. Even in this online service, we are sharing our spirits with one another, knowing that God's existence and connection that is created between us knows no geography or no time at all. So bring yourself fully to this time and to this place by getting in touch with your body, with your thoughts, with your emotions, and with your spirits. Also get in touch with all who are joining together in this physical space or online. Whenever we get to watch, whenever we get to participate with one another in this service, the Spirit knows no boundaries at all. Welcome to Portage United Church of Christ, whoever you are, and wherever you are in life's journey, you are welcome here.
From the bustle of the world and the silence of our wilderness, we pause together for worship. At times we can be a grumbling people, quick to focus on the lack and the gaps. Yet in love, God, you listen to our cries and provide for us. Impatiently, we are a searching people, craving peace and purpose. And with patience, God, you offer us hope and sustain us. Help us to be a thankful people, recognizing your love for us in all its abundance. Through your presence, God, you turn us toward you and nourish us. In this time of worship, let us open our hearts and be filled.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near, gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near, Spirit draw near, struggle and the power, Spirit draw near.
Please join with me in the opening prayer. Holy One of Israel, in a culture characterized by restless anxiety, we are indeed weary and heavy laden. Teach us about Sabbath rest. Give us a new understanding of how that gift can free us from our commodity-driven existence into the life of neighborly relationship. In the name of the one who calls us to take his yoke upon us where we can find rest, Jesus the Christ. Amen.
O God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. O God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. I will seek you in the morning, and I will learn to walk in your ways, and step by step you'll lead me, and I will follow you all of my days. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. I will seek you in the morning, and I will learn to walk in your ways, and step by step you'll lead me, and I will follow you all of my days. I will follow you all of my days. I will follow you all of my days, and step by step you'll lead me, and I will follow you all of my days.
Our first scripture this morning is from Psalm 113. Open your hearts, you servants of God. Open your hearts to God. Strive to be a fertile field for God's love all day, all night, always. God's work encompasses the nations, the world, the distances between the stars. God's work is in the atom, the core, the interstices of matter. God's work is in the deeds of love, the justice of society, the care of friends. God's life is in every life, making us one family. God's justice lifts the poor, setting them with nobility in the human community. God's love fills our hearts with everything we need.
Our second reading today is from Amos, chapter 8, 4 through 8. It says this: Hear this, you who trample on the needy and bring to ruin the poor of the land, saying, when will the new moon be over so that we may sell grain, and the Sabbath so that we may offer wheat for sale? We will make the ephah smaller and the shekel heavier, and practice deceit with false balances, in order to buy the needy for silver and the helpless for sandals, and sell garbage as grain. The Lord has sworn by the pride of Jacob, surely I will never forget any of their deeds. Shall not the land tremble on this account? And everyone mourn who lives in it, and all of it rise like the Nile, and be tossed about and sink again like the Nile of Egypt? Amos 8, 4 through 8. In Psalm 113, we hear about the wonderfulness of God. We are presented with the exhortation to open our hearts. That is the point of the whole psalm, to encourage us to risk opening our hearts because God is loving and creating us into one beautiful human family. While Psalm 113 is written to everybody, our second reading from Amos is written to those in power who were taking advantage of those with no power. And the prophet cries out, saying, "Hear this, you who trample on the needy and bring ruin to the poor of the land." Then the prophet begins to name the ways that this trampling and ruin are being performed by the powerful. In Psalm 113, we see an example of how to keep Sabbath well by extolling the virtues of the divine and opening our hearts to that goodness, to that love. In our reading from Amos, we are shown how the Sabbath was being defiled. It wasn't just not keeping the Sabbath in a kind of casual way. The people in power were actively making a show of keeping the day while ruthlessly undermining the whole point of it by plotting to gain more power and control. Now, we all here are likely somewhere in the middle of all that. I don't imagine us to be ruthlessly trying to power grab while pretending to keep the Sabbath. I think a lot of times we just go, "Oh, I forgot to relax today." So today we consider Sabbath as resistance with a topic of multitasking. Resisting multitasking means something specific to me. So let me tell you first what I don't think it means. And I'm going to pause to get myself a little throat lozenge because I forgot to do that when I first got up. So what I don't think it means. It doesn't just mean doing something more than one thing at a time. Although that's what it sounds like on the surface. This isn't about listening to music while studying or doing the dishes. There are a lot of people for whom focusing means doing something so that you can do the something else that you really need to do or that you're really wanting to do. You know who you are. You know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and likely even how to make the world a better place for yourself so that you can fit into it. And if you don't know, and you've been struggling to make your brain and your life more smooth and functional, there are helpers out there just for you, people like therapists and pastors and counselors who can help you sort through that in various ways. So I'd like to set aside that so-called notion of multitasking and talk about the phenomenon of productivity, which has been around a lot longer than our generations. I don't know how many generations are in this room today or however many are watching online, but it's been around a lot longer than us. And with the technology that we have now, there's a lot of pressure to do more and to be more. The pace of life has quickened with each passing generation. Our modes of travel have become faster, which puts pressure on us to be more places more quickly. Computers are getting faster, which means that we feel pressure to become faster too. It reminds me of the story and songs about the legend John Henry versus the steam driller. Am I the only one that knows that, remembers that legend? Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it? I have to admit, when it came to my mind, I had to go to YouTube and listen to the song by Johnny Cash. It is so compelling. In a competition between man and machine, the man won and then died later that day from exhaustion. That was written and was about an actual event that happened in the late 1800s. We are pushed and pushed and pushed to be more productive, to be more valuable. Valuable to who? Psalm 113 reminds us of our true value, of our intrinsic worth. Amos 8 reminds us that there are some who will devalue and take advantage of anyone they can. The Sabbath is meant to remind us of our intrinsic worth. We rest, refresh, relax, and connect with God because it's good for us. The juiciness of life isn't making more money or climbing the ladder of success. The juiciness of life comes from those moments when we experience life itself. Sabbath redirects us away from productivity that is human-inspired for the sake of vaporous productivity toward a soul expansion, a joy expansion. Resisting multitasking on the Sabbath isn't just for the Sabbath. It's a spiritual practice that can grow in our everyday lives. Though it might sound counterintuitive, practicing mindfulness as resistance to multitasking can actually help us be more satisfyingly productive in the long run. And while that is true, that's not my argument for Sabbath keeping. It isn't that you'll be more productive during the week. That's not why I want you to do it. Because honestly, that sounds more like manipulating people through the self-interest of empire than leading community on a spiritual journey. Sabbath is a practice that's meant for the Sabbath day, but also as a way to live more fully, more joyfully, satisfyingly, and robustly for our whole lives. The more you practice something, the better you get at it. The systems that we live in don't give us much time to practice things like wellness for our souls or joyful living. Sadly, we have to intentionally carve out time for things like this. Sabbath keeping is a way to carve out that time. It's a structure. The more we practice it, the more it will influence the rest of the week. That is, if we can resist the rest of the week influencing our Sabbath. Hence the resistance to multitasking. There really is no separation between our regular life and our spiritual life. Whatever we practice the most is what becomes our default. I had a pastor, now this was at a time when I was in the Pentecostal church, and we had the shout, and we spoke in tongues, and we sang and danced and did all number of really enthusiastic things. And this particular pastor told a story about being at the dentist. And I don't know what work that they were doing on him, but his anxiety was rising and rising and rising. And he kind of, went inside of himself. And when he came to, the dentist said, "What language were you speaking?" He had been speaking in tongues with this thing in his mouth, obviously. Not this, maybe the safest thing, but he had been speaking in tongues in the midst of his anxiety without him even realizing it. Why? Because that was his prayer language, and he had practiced it and practiced it and practiced it. I wonder what language would have come out of any of our mouths in the midst of that. What language do we practice and practice and practice? I don't know. It could be anything for a number of us. What we do the most becomes our default. Coming to a church service or any community practice of spirituality helps to remind us of our values and what we want to prioritize in life. It's a touchstone for us to hearken back to when our day-to-day becomes overwhelming or unmanageable. Sabbath keeping is meant to be the same. It's a practice to help us strengthen our connection with holy love and our connection to our own selves. Resisting the urge to dip our toe in the water of our work means letting go of the notion that we are only as valuable as our productivity. The truth is, your value is not driven by how much you do or how well you do it. You are as valuable simply because you are who you are. The human system is relentless for productivity. God's system is relentless for simply being, for opening our hearts, for connection, for breathing in the ineffable nature of our existence. It's actually easier to be productive than it is to be intimate with our own sense of self, to be vulnerable, having a connection with the divine, and creating community that is sharing and caring. God is asking us to do the harder thing, to slow down, to stop. The demands of daily living can be so big. In the midst of it, we can feel so small. Mindful Sabbath turns that around. It shrinks the demands of life and enlarges our souls so that we can feel the expansiveness of our own sacred nature and our connection to holy love. And that connection is what brings us to this table today. As we bring the elements forward, let's prepare our hearts to receive communion.
God of the abundant enough, you are the fullness our souls long for. When we fill the space around us with the clutter of possessions or a busy calendar, when we seek isolating comfort or frenetic distraction, calm our hearts. Hold our wounded places tenderly. Release us from the fear of scarcity. Ground us in the certainty of the goodness and beauty that flow from you in abundance. O pilgrim God, you ask us to live simply. Compassionate God, we remember those who pack lightly, not by choice, but by necessity. Refugees, the desperate poor, orphans, the abandoned, and victims of natural disasters. Move us to compassion, draw us to wisdom, and compel us to act. We seek to embody your hands, providing for the needs of others, as well as your heart, opening to strangers in hospitality. O pilgrim God, you ask us to live simply. Our liberator, you call us into freedom. Where we are captive to patterns, ideas, or systems that constrict the flourishing you have created for us, free us. Where we are burdened by messages and image that diminish our love of neighbor and of self, free us. Turn our whole beings to you. Gently open our hands to let go of all that weighs us down so that we may receive your joyful simplicity. O pilgrim God, you ask us to live simply. Winnowing God, you ask us to release, let go, surrender and yield all that we can in service of making space for what is most essential. Sustain us on the path of simplifying our lives and traveling on this earth more lightly so that we no longer live beyond what can be sustained. We pray in Jesus' name and speak together the words he taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us for our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Thank you for joining us here for our service today. And now it's time to go from this moment to whatever it is that you have next. Go forth into the world in peace and be of good courage. Hold fast what is good. Render to no one evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the afflicted. Honor all people. Love and serve our God, rejoicing in the power of the Holy Spirit. And may the blessing of God, who creates us in love, the grace of Jesus, who offers us rest, the sustenance of the Holy Spirit, be with us all. Go forth, my friends, this week in peace and as peacemakers.
Over the mountains and the sea, your river runs with love for me. And I will open up my heart and let the healer set me free. I'm happy to be in the truth, and I will daily lift my hands. And I will always sing of when your love came down. I could sing of your love forever. 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 Over the mountains and the sea, your river runs with love for me. And I will open up my heart and let the healer set me free. I'm happy to be in the truth, and I will daily lift my hands. For I will always sing of when your love came down. I could sing of your love forever. 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 Oh, I feel like dancing. Oh, I feel like dancing. It's foolishness, I know. But when the world has seen the light, they will dance with joy like we're dancing now. I can sing